some of the most spectacular straight Egyptian Arabian horses all over Kuwait, if not all over the Gulf, here having their home at Aljazira. The first group of mares and stallions or colts you see are descending from the Saglawi Jedran strain, going back to Rayana Ratiba, so this is Insha's family. Talal decided everyone is running after Saglawis from the Moniat El Nefus, which of course we all can understand, but on the other hand, also the original Insha's herd has a lot of genetic potential to offer, and he finally looked around and was able to purchase from Al Rayyan stables in Qatar Roba Al Rayyan, the foundation mare of this family, of which you see in total 4 fine representatives. And the first one now with you is Rauda Aljazira. She's by Sinan Al Rayyan out of Roba Al Rayyan. And Roba Al Rayyan was the mare he was able to purchase. She built up a fantastic family for Talal Mehri. They did extremely well, not only in breeding, in his breeding program, but also when they were shown. Talal is very much respected not only as a fine horse breeder, but also for his knowledge and experience in evaluating and classifying horses. He is on the Kuwait National Judges List and tours around the whole globe to judge not only on shows which are especially for straight Egyptian Arabians, but also for all purebred Arabian horses, judging not only here in the Gulf region, but also in Europe and also in the United States. Now with you, one of the youngsters. You have a very pretty filly by Barzan Aljazira, one of the young and upcoming stallions here in the farm, out of Rauda Aljazira, the chestnut mare you have just seen before. Truly an exquisite youngster, just only a few weeks old, probably the first time to come out in front of such a big audience, descending from countries all over the world. May this filly mature well and turn into another superstar at Aljazira Stud. The next to come is Rawan Aljazira. He is by Sinan Al Rayyan out of Rawa Aljazira. Again, going back to Roba Al Rayyan. Roba Al Rayyan was a daughter from Ashal Al Rayyan. And here we have a very fine representative of the Rayana Ratiba line. Beautiful in type, gorgeous eyes, a lot of width between them. Very solid conformation, and see this amazing ground covering movement. The pedigree reads like the who is who. Sire Sinan Al Rayyan, so much well known and sought after. The whole world, everywhere, people are looking for his blood, trying to get an offspring from him. And Sinan Al Rayyan developed here on this place. He was purchased by Talal. I think he was just only a bit over 1 year old. Became or was awarded Junior Champion Colt at the international show in Qatar. Talal immediately noticed that this colt is something special. He was finally able to buy him. There was one part in this agreement that he had to go one day back to Al Rayyan farm for 1 or 2 lease period seasons. He grew up here, started his breeding career in Kuwait, then moved for 2 years to Al Rayyan. Breeders in Qatar had the chance to use him. They gave him their trust and faith. Sinan Al Rayyan returned back and had an amazing career here in Kuwait. And then finally, Sheikh Abdullah, as well as his son Sheikh Ahmed from Al Wahab Stud, they couldn't take their eyes away from Sinan, and finally they were able to purchase him, and now he is the king in the stables of Al Wahab. Now you have with you Rayyan Aljazira, one of the great sons of Sinan Al Rayyan, and he's out of Roba Al Rayyan by Ajmal Ashal. Pedigree reads like the who is who. A spectacular young stallion who already has great show records. He was shown several times here in Kuwait and impresses the eye not only of the jury but all the spectators because of his ground covering movement, his athletic ability, the masculine expression. He is truly a superstar also here in the stables. And carrying on this precious blood of Ratiba from the Inshas herd, not only through the female line, but also one of the few sires, I think, on the ground worldwide. It's good to have him. And he does an amazing job as a sire. Thank you. This was Rayyan Aljazira. The more well-known family within the Saglawi Jedran strain is, of course, the family of the famous Moniat Nefus, the also so named the Queen of the Nile. And you will see in a bit some representatives of this precious family. And the first one to come is Masouda Aljazira. She is by Rehan Aljazira. You will see this stallion later during our presentation. And the dam is Mayassa Aljazira. What a lovely, very fine young mare. Noble, classic in look and expression. happy to show off in front of all of you. Wonderful ground covering movements. Very light. A friend of mine, Mr. Rombauer, Tamás Rombauer from Hungary, always says, when an Arabian horse starts to move, you shall not be able to hear the hoofbeats. It should not sound like the Kuwaiti army is marching to war. It should be a very light movement, which gives you the impression the hoofs are even not touching the ground. And she has this kind of ability and showing off herself. Exquisite young mare. Thank you. The next to come is Serene Queen. She's by Ansata Nile Echo of Serene Isis, bred by Stefano Galba from the north of Italy. Serene Arabian stud. Nile Echo, of course, needs no introduction, unfortunately. He had already left to the evergreen pastures. He was a spectacular stallion, a great producer, and known for his amazing trot. And this is a characteristic and feature which he passed on to many of his produce. And you easily can recognize this also here in Serenity Queen. She combines in an ideal way exotic charisma with solid conformation, deep chest, strong croup. Overall, very balanced and a lot of harmony in her. And here comes her daughter. And she's by Asfour Al-Wab. Asfour Al-Wab is a son of Barak Al-Alia, who is by Ashal Al-Rayan. And the dam of Asfour Al-Wab is Sarah Aljazira, bred and born here at Aljazira Arabian stud. Sarah Aljazira is the daughter of Adnan out of Ansata Selma, full sister to Ansata Selman and also to Faris Al-Rayan. Asfour Al-Wab, as the name says, was bred at Al-Wab stud, later sold to Hayrat Al-Hilaliya farm here in Kuwait to Mr. Barak Al-Hajri. He matured into a spectacular stallion. You saw several of his produced during our Breeders' Cup Straight Egyptians. They gained class wins as well as championship titles. The gold champion mare is a daughter from Asfour Al-Wab. Many breeders in Kuwait gave him their trust and faith. He was also for some time on lease to Dubai Arabian stud. Very exotic stallion with a strong genetic potential, making himself a name already as a great producer. And here we have one of his youngsters. Beautiful filly. Thank you. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, with the highlight of this presentation. This is our yearling filly gold champion of the Breeders' Cup Straight Egyptians 2020. It's Khatun Aljazira by Saham Al-Shakab. Khatun Aljazira is by Saham Al-Shakab out of May Al-Wab. She traces back to Ajmal Munira, a mare which was bred by Mohammed Jassim Al-Marzouk. Ajmal Munira was bred by Mohammed Jassim Al-Marzouk, Ajmal Arabian stud. He sold her later on, being in foal to Ajmal Talal to Al-Wab farm. She had to do a long trip, went first from Kuwait to the United States, then via Europe to Qatar. And on this long way, she delivered a filly, and this is the grandmother of this charming youngster, our this year's gold champion yearling fillies. First Breeders' Cup Straight Egyptians Kuwait. She attracted the eye not only of the jury members but also of all the spectators. She had a wonderful movement, impressed because of her gorgeous type, her showy attitude. This elegance all over was scored very high in all characteristics, in all elements. She's happy to now have a rest after these stressful days in our show facilities. Khatun Aljazira, our yearling champion filly. Gold medal. The next to come is Gala Alwan. She is by Rayyan Aljazira, the stallion you saw in the first group. He was the fourth in the first group. And the dam is Tamam Al Rayyan. She has also been shown successfully. A very impressive young mare, just in the beginning of her career, whether it's in breeding or in showing. Impressive because of her fine head, the well-set eyes, beautifully set neck with a clean throat. And for sure, she's happy to be back from the showground here in her stables, relaxing and being happy to be shown once again here in front of you. No show stress, just a pleasure to see her. Thank you. Gal Alwawan is leaving the show paddock, and we welcome now descendant from the Obayan Omjeris strain, through Hanan, Drema Al-Shakab. She's the daughter of Aladid Al-Shakab out of Ibtisam Al-Shakab, full sister to Saham Al-Shakab, a young stallion who is now one of the chief sires here at the farm. You will see him in a bit. But first, his full sister, Drema Al-Shakab, heavily in foal. And look at her. She has everything you are expecting from a solid, promising broodmare. We'll not ask her too much about movement. Don't want to have anything happening. Looks like she's very proud of herself. Would love to show much more than she can do right now with her big belly. But see this cleanness in her throat, the overall dryness and refinedness in her. This Talal, he really knows how to select his broodmares. He looks around, he has a vision. He's not going for any spectacular show successes. He sees the quality in broodmares, he sees the pedigree, he can read the pedigree. And this is the key for his success. And he also has something which most of, or many breeders do not have, and this is patience. He allows horses to mature. And if he believes in a pedigree, he believes in a horse, then he gives them time. He doesn't take quick decisions. Over the years, he was able to build up a farm which is among the best, not only here in the Gulf, but if not even worldwide. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, with Saham Al-Shakab, full brother to the mare you have just seen. So he's by Aladid Al-Shakab out of Ibtisam Al-Shakab. And those of you who watched the show carefully and looked into the pedigree information, you saw several Saham Al-Shakab produce in the show, and they did extremely well. The stallion has a great genetic potential. His father, Aljazira Arabians, definitely needs no introduction. He unfortunately also left us to the always green pastures. A true legend, this Aljazira. Not only was he a great show winner, among his successes in the show ring, World Championship titles, All Nations Cup champion titles, winner of the Egyptian event in Lexington, Kentucky, winner at other shows in the United States of America when he was there with Michael Byatt for some time. He left behind offspring all over the world. And Talal Mehdi is fortunate to have Saham Al-Shakab now in his breeding barn. He gave him his trust and faith. He believed in this stallion. And he's blessed with some gorgeous offspring. So these two are fine representatives of the Obayan Omjeri strain, El Shabah, going back to Mona Inshas through Hanan. Let's keep our fingers crossed for Talal that Drema Al-Shakab, the mare you saw first, will be able to found her own dynasty and carry on the legacy of this important family. We will now see some fine representatives of the Hadban and Zahi strain. And they go back to the Bin Samiha family. The first entering the arena is Nabiha Al-Zubair. She is by Nadid Al-Naif out of Marjana Al-Zubair. Al-Zubair starts from the United Arab Emirates, from Sharjah. Not only known for producing excellent show Arabian horses, but also for owning and breeding very fine straight Egyptians. Talal was happy to buy Nabiha some time back. Now she's residing here and matured into a star for his stables. A mare with a lot of showy attitude, an amazing ground covering movement. Very nicely structured. And a great representative of the Hadban and Zahi strain, the Bin Samiha family. May she be able to found her own dynasty here at Aljazira Stud. Thank you. And the next to come is Shayla Al-Wab. She's by Faris Al-Rayyan out of Shahira Al-Nasser. Shahira Al-Nasser goes back to the famous Bin Saida Al-Nasser, one of the queens of famous Al-Nasser stud. She was many times crowned champion, whether it was in Qatar at the national or international championships, at Aachen during the All Nations Cup, and she was silver champion at the World Championships in 2002. And not only was she a showy mare which attracted the eyes of everybody who saw her, she did also well for the breeding program of Al Nasser Stud, and Shahira Al Nasser, residing at Al Wab Stud, has been used there, built up her own family. At the Arabian Horse Center we have a full sister to her. The sire Faris Al Rayyan is a full brother to Ansata Selman. Gorgeous stallion who made himself already a name as a great producer. And Talal is fortunate to have been able to buy this mare from Al Wab. The Hadban and Zahi strain becomes a little bit rare over the past years, unfortunately. People are more into the more, let's say, common and more modern strains, but we shall not forget to preserve the unique and rare blood also from other strains, even if they are not so extremely popular. Never follow fashion. Try to preserve the genetic potential and keep the identity of these important strains and families. Our genetic pool is already limited, and if we then eliminate not so much popular horses from this small genetic pool, we quickly run into a dead-end corner, and this is something we definitely have to avoid. Talal was happy to add this most charming Shayla Al-Wab to his breeding program, and hopefully she will be able to found her own family here at Aljazira. Thank you, and congratulations, Talal. As said, Talal is a person who is very patient. He gives horses a chance. If he has a strong belief in them, he gives them a chance to mature. And often he was proven right. And we are now starting with a presentation of horses which are belonging to the Dahman Shawan strain, the Farida Halima family through Moheba. Moheba, sister to Ibn Halima, Ansata Ibn Halima. What would our straight Egyptian Arabian horse world be without Ansata Ibn Halima? Moheba, a sister to him, was sold from El Zahra to the main and state stud Marbach, and she built up a spectacular dynasty, preserved mainly and carried on mainly by Mr. Peter Gross and also the Tauschke family of El Taiba stud. Dr. Filsinger, Dr. Seidlitz, several famous breeders in Germany valued this family of Moheba highly and built up their breeding program on this line. And the first you saw is May Aljazira. She's by El Tai Mameluk out of El Tai Rayana. Rayana was a daughter, or is a daughter of Ansata Selman out of El Tai Bint Kamla, being a full sister to El Tai Kemal Pasha. Mameluk resided for a long time first at El Taiberstad, then to Sabine and Holger von Elm, Alilavstad. Already as a senior stallion, he was a senior stallion when he came to Kuwait. Talal loved the stallion a lot because of his gorgeous, big, round, black eyes. He valued his pedigree highly, gave him his trust and faith. And Mameluk was able to support him building this family. It was mainly used on Muheba family horses, but not only. In the arena now we have a daughter to May Aljazira, and this is Lulua Aljazira. She is by Saham El Shakab, the stallion you have seen before, being a representative of the Obayan Omjiri strain, the Hanan family. Lulua was, I think she was also shown during our Breeders' Cup. A fine filly with a beautiful type. Nicely square shaped. Beautifully carried upright neck. Overall, solid build. Everything is nicely put together. Good tail carriage. Thank you, Lulua. And the next to come, this is Nasima Aljazira. She is by Sinan Al Rayyan out of Latifa Aljazira. Again, going back to El Tayrayana, so Kamla family, Kamla 2 family, bred by Dr. Hans-Jörg Tauschke, El Taiberstad. El Tayrayana first made her move from Germany to Qatar, stayed for some time with Sheikh Abdulaziz, and then finally Talal was able to purchase her, and she built up this nice family with in total 9 representatives. I think it's the biggest family here at Talal's place. Nasima impresses the people who watch her carefully because of her gorgeous type, her exotic expression, ground-covering movement. A mare with a lot of substance and all the qualities a broodmare should have. Look at this chiseled head and the fine muzzle. Wide nostrils, they are well shaped. Truly an eye catcher. And a star here at Aljazira Stud. Talal is very proud of her. Thank you. Nasima Aljazira. And now you will see her last daughter, and this is Manaya Aljazira, and she's by Saham Al-Shakab, the stallion whom you have already seen. This fine Obayan Omjris Hanan family. And look at this, very exotic filly. See this chiseled head. Don't get irritated that her tongue is hanging out on one side. She does this sometimes when she's getting overexcited. Also had an injury and the facialis nerve got affected, but she will grow out of this. But see this elegance, the refinedness in her, very exotic head, beautiful eyes. Truly a very special filly, and Talal is very proud of her. Thank you. The next to come is Mudhawi Aljazira. She's by Rayyan Aljazira. You saw Rayyan in the first group of representatives of the Ratiba family, going back to the Inshas herd. He was number 4 in this group. Very impressive stallion who became a star here in the stallion barn. And the dam of Mudhawi Aljazira is Latifa Aljazira, who is also the dam of Nazima, the chestnut mare you have just seen earlier. Highly pregnant, still she loves to show off. Gorgeous mare with a lot of substance. Amazing charisma. She has this very nice, well laid back shoulder, which enables this mare to reach far forward with her forearms. Something which we really have to watch out in our breeding programs. We see in these days so many horses with straight shoulders. They only lift up their feet and they put them back where they have taken them off from. She is different. Very impressive mare, just in the beginning of her career. fine representative of the Moheba 2 family through Kamla 2. The next to come will be Leen Aljazira, another daughter of Saham al-Shakab, and you will easily recognize the great influence Saham al-Shakab already has here at the farm, although he's only here since a few years. Talal carefully selected the mares he wanted for him, and truly he is doing an amazing job here at Aljazira Stud. Leen is out of Latifa Aljazira, who is also the dam of the flashy chestnut mare you have seen earlier, and also of the mare you have just seen before, this Mudhawi Aljazira. So Latifa, a great producer. And even when bred to different stallions, she always gives outstanding foals. Truly a treasure for anyone's breeding program. And this youngster impresses because of her fine head, the well-set neck, and carrying on the legacy of the Moheba family here at Aljazira Stud. Thank you. Before it was very quiet here. Abu Bakr from Egypt came, and right away is very noisy here in this corner. The next to come is Karama Aljazira. She's by Talid Al-Naif, out of Kamla Al-Wab, and Kamla Al-Wab is by Sinan Al-Rayyan and El-Tai Rosetta. Karama Aljazira was able to found her own dynasty already here in the farm within the Moheba 2 family. Truly a precious mare and a queen here in the stables. She's as precious as gold for Aljazira Stud. Heavily pregnant again. Has been bred to different stallions. And whatever she produced was amazing. Talal values her very highly for his breeding program and says, this is one of my most spectacular mares. Without her, my farm would not be what it is today. He found Khalid Al Naif on one of his many visits to his friends in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I think Khalid was at this time with Mr. Buchanan. Talal was able to purchase him a stallion with a lot of athletic ability, amazing movement. He was a tall horse and he produced very well for Talal. Thank you, Karama Aljazira, Khalid Al Naif and Kamla Al Wab. The next to come is another superstar amongst the youngsters here in the farm. A daughter of Saham. You saw already 3 Saham daughters here within this family. As said, this stallion truly is doing a great job for Talal. This is Nada Aljazira by Saham Al-Shakab and Karama Aljazira, and she is our junior gold champion filly from the first Breeders' Cup Straight Egyptians Kuwait 2020. Some of our jury members are still here with us. Some unfortunately had already to leave. If you look now at this gorgeous filly, you know that these judges have done a great job. They really choose the right filly to be gold champion. It was Talal's day. It was the 19th of February when he was awarded with 2 gold champion titles, 1 silver champion title, plus also the most successful breeder award, and it was his birthday. What else can you wish for? And this is truly a spectacular filly, probably a little bit tired after all this stressful time in Bet Al Arab show facilities. But look at her. Isn't she an eye catcher? Look at this exotic face. She attracted the eyes of everybody who was in the show arena. Truly something very special, and Talal is absolutely proud of her. Congratulations, Talal, master breeder from Kuwait. And the next to come is a boy out of Karama Aljazira, so a half brother to Nada Aljazira, and his name is Farouk. And he's by Nasser Al Rayyan. Nasser Al Rayyan is right now, I think, on lease residing at Al Wab Stud. He's a son of Sinan Al Rayyan. Nasser was on lease to Kuwait first with Suleiman Al-Kenai as well as Dari Al-Medjem. They took this wise decision to get him over to Kuwait, gave him their trust and faith, and so did several other breeders. And they were all blessed with gorgeous fillies and colts. He also spent some months at the Arabian Horse Center, where he was also given a chance. And he truly produced very well. And it seems that he is not only able to produce lovely fillies, but also very promising colts. And one of them you see now in front of you, Farouk. He already attracted the eye of everybody who was here last year during our stud visit tour. He was an extremely promising colt of just less than 1 year. Now again you see him, and he's keeping the promise. Talal has big hopes in him. He so far matured well, still has the same gorgeous charisma as we saw on him when we met him last year. Very nicely built. This Nasser Al Rayyan seems to make himself a name as a gorgeous producer. Now at Al Wahab Stud, the first foals are on the ground there as well. Truly, very promising. Thank you. Farouk Aljazira, Nasser Al Rayyan, and Karama Aljazira. The next to come is Tadi Aljazira. He is by Ez Aljazira and Kamla Al Wahab. Ez Aljazira is unfortunately no longer with us. He was a son of Sinan Al Rayyan and Jamila Al Zamet, tracing back to the Tamriya line. Tamriya became very famous at Babolna, the Hungarian state stud. Was able to found her own dynasty over there. Unfortunately, almost everything is sold out to other places. Mrs. Schreibvogel had some horses from this family in Germany. Bred Jamila Al Zamet, she was later on sold to Sheikh Abdulaziz, and finally Talal was able to get her, and she was able to found her own dynasty in the place. Ez Aljazira, a famous son out of this precious mare. And Tadi is truly a fine representative of this ideal combination between the Moheba II family and the Tamriya family. She impresses because of her gorgeous type, her noblesse and elegance, and her nice floating movement. A real treasure here in the barn of Aljazira Stud. Thank you. And the stallion to come, ladies and gentlemen, is the silver champion stallion Breeders' Cup Straight Egyptians Kuwait 2020. Yesterday at Khalid bin Shoker's Al Safinat stud, you saw the gold champion stallion Firas Al Safinat, now the silver champion stallion Rehan Aljazira, who is by Sinan Al Rayyan out of El Tai Rayana. Rayana by Ansata Selman out of El Tai Bint Kamla. And El Tai Bint Kamla is by Mansour, El Tai Mansour and Kamla too. So he's truly a spectacular representative of the Moheba 2 and Kamla 2 family. Truly an impressive stallion with the most charming type. He truly reflects the charisma of the Kamla and Moheba family. I think it was very tough for the jury members to decide between those two gorgeous stallions, Firas as well as Rehan. Both of them, we can here be in Kuwait very happy to have them. Two young stallions, both of them just spectacular and outstanding. The next two to come still are representing the Moheba family, but not through Moheba 2, but through Malika. Malika was also able to found her own dynasty, not only in Europe, but also in the United States, through this precious mare, JKB Masuda. And from there, many representatives moved over to the Gulf region, as well as Qatar, as well as Kuwait, whether it was Ansata Majesta, Ansata Majesty, Ansata Malaka, and so many more. And they all became very influential for so many breeders here in Kuwait as well as in Qatar. Horses descending from the Malika family are usually a little bit taller, more maybe on longer legs than the horses from the Moheba 2 family. And the first from this family to enter the arena is Naila Al Rayyan. She's by Sinan Al Rayyan out of Naama Al Rayyan. Naama is a full sister to Ashal Al Rayyan. So going back to Ansata Majesta. Impressive young mare with an amazing ground covering movement. You just have to snip your finger and off she goes. Loves to show. Truly a superstar here at the stables of Talal Mehri. He's very happy with her. And you will see her daughter in a bit. Ansata Majesta was known to be the most winningest mare in Qatar. Whenever she was shown, she gained championship titles. She was very leggy, and whenever she entered the arena, she dominated the scene. And she was an amazing producer for Sheikh Abdulaziz's famous Al Rayyan stud. And here we go with Nadira Aljazira, daughter of the mare you have just seen, and the sire is Mahmoud Aljazira. It's not Mahmoud Zubayt, it's Mahmoud Aljazira. Has the same showy attitude, the same ground covering movement. A lot of presence, charisma. Truly an eye catcher. Look at this refined head. Thank you. Nadira Aljazira by Mahmoud and Naila Al Rayyan. You need now to shift to the last page of your leaflet, page number 4, and we'll show you some fine representatives of the Dahman Shaban strain El Dahma from the Bukra family. As already mentioned several times, we are celebrating the legacy of famous Bint Bukra, Ansata Bint Bukra. And here in the arena you have now Hana Al Rayyan. She is by Safia Al Rayyan out of Salwa Aljazira. She represents the Bukra family through Ansata Delilah. After having produced this amazing book about Ansata Hijazi, Judy was in writing mode, and now the book is available about Ansata bint Bukra, Born to Reign. It's an amazing book. Lots of knowledge and experience through all these many years of breeding, writing, giving lectures, workshops. Who else can write such a book? And it truly honors the legacy of one of the most spectacular mares of the straight Egyptian breed. And many of the Ansata bin Bukra produced are here in the Gulf. There's not so many in Europe. And Hana Al Rayyan, by Safi Al Rayyan and Salwa Aljazira is a fine representative of this great family. You will see now Salma Aljazira, a daughter of this gorgeous Hana. She's a daughter of Rehan Aljazira, our silver champion stallion. You have just seen him in the group of the representatives of the Moheba family, Moheba 2 through Kamla. And her mother is the mare you have just seen before. Look at this extremely elegant filly. Beautiful, long and fine lines. A gorgeous neck. Extremely fine in her throat lash. Good poll. And a very light and ground covering movement. Cadence, rhythm, very nicely floating. A very fine filly Talal can really be proud of. Thank you. This is Salma Aljazira by Rehan and Hana Aljazira. And here we have the youngster in this family, not yet named, the filly by Saham Al-Shakab out of Hana Al Rayyan, the mare you have seen as the first representing the Ansata Delilah, Ansata bin Bukra family. Just only a few days old, her first coming out in front of such a gorgeous audience. And look at her. The Sam Al-Shakab is truly doing a great job. You have seen now several of his produce. You can make up your own mind. And I guess you are pleased with what you have seen. Very pretty filly. Mabruk Talal. This gentleman here with the red polo shirt, this is Naji. He is the stable manager, taking very good care for all these horses. They're all in a fantastic condition. He truly is doing a great job. The next to come, and another fine representative of this gorgeous family. This is Shalfa Aljazira. She was already shown successfully here in Kuwait. A daughter of Sinan Al Rayyan out of Shahid Al Kuwait. Shahid Al Kuwait is out of Shams Al Kuwait. You have seen her during the presentation at the Arabian Horse Center, Beit Al Arab. And Shams is by Ansata Sirius and Ansata Shirara. Shirara by Ansata Hijazi and Ansata Shalimar by Prinz Farmuniert. Look at her. Is this not a spectacular mare? Noblesse, elegance, charm, exotic expression. She's truly a queen here at Aljazira Stud. Talal loves her a lot. A superstar here in the stables. Whoever comes to Aljazira Stud adores this gorgeous mare. The pedigree reads like the who is who. Ansata bin Bukra on both sides of the pedigree. The legacy continues. Thank you. The next to come is also representing the Bukra family through Ansata Damietta, being a sister to Ansata Delilah. Ansata Delilah is probably more well known by most of the breeders, but also Ansata Damietta was able to found her own dynasty. Maybe not as large in number, but still a famous family on its own rights. Her name is Suhaila Aljazira. She is by Sinan Al Rayyan out of Sandi Nasiriyah. Talal not only tours around here in the Gulf region, he also sometimes travels to the United States and other places around the world, although he hates to fly. Friends who had miserable moments sitting next to Talal in the plane, they said he is pressing our arm so much that we are getting blue spots. But now with some medicine, he doesn't mind, and mostly now he's traveling with his family, so he's fine, even managing to travel such long distances. And whenever he's traveling, he's not only seeing nice spots, he is also visiting Arabian horse farms, and he found representatives from this family in the United States, purchased and developed this lovely family going back to Ansata Damietta. And look at this Suhaila Aljazira, a very charismatic mare. You see the influence from, or the touch from Sinan Al Rayyan with his sweetness and exotic expression. The harmony and balance for which the Ansata Bint Bukra line is so much well known. Beautiful. These were the very fine representatives from the Dahman Shawan strain, the Ansata Bint Bukra family through Ansata Delilah as well as Ansata Damietta. And where does this all come from? Bukra, the source, El Zahra Stud, the Egyptian Agricultural Organization from Egypt. And now we show you a fine representative of the Nafisa line. In the arena we have Amun Princess Jamila. She's by Jamil Al Rayyan out of Taisuna. She was bred by Heike and Manfred Hein. Has been shown several times, not only in Europe, where she was born, but later on also here in Kuwait. A very impressive mare with a lot of substance and an amazing ground covering movement. We have seen yesterday some fine representatives of the Nefisa family through Alicat. The Hein family was fortunate to be able to buy Taisuna. They had the dam of Taisuna first, but she unfortunately passed away much too early. Then they were able to buy Taisuna, daughter of Maizun. And Taisuna was able to found her own dynasty at Hein's Amun Straight Egyptian Arabian Stud. Talal values this family very highly and was happy to be able to purchase Amun Princess Jamila. Her sire, Jamil Al Rayyan, needs no introduction. You saw already some nice offspring by him during the stud farm tour. He resided for some time in Egypt, then went to the Kingdom of Bahrain, is proudly owned by Mr. Al-Jasmi of famous Al-Rashidiyah farm, and he's truly doing an amazing job as a sire. Thank you. Amun Princess Jamila by Jamil Al-Rayyan and Taisuna representing the Nafisa family. And the next to come is her filly by Asfur Al-Wab. Asfur Al-Wab, being a son of Barak Al-Alia out of Sara Aljazira, through his motherline he is based here to Kuwait, to Aljazira stud. Sara Aljazira was purchased by Sheikh Abdullah and Sheikh Ahmed, a gorgeous daughter of Adnan out of Ansata Selma, and his combination with Barak Al-Alia truly was a golden match. There's a full brother of Asfur Al-Wab now in Al-Wab stud. He did great when being presented during the World Championships for straight Egyptians in Milano this year. And we are happy to have Asfur Al-Wab here in Kuwait with Barak Al-Hajri. He's doing a great job as a sire. And several breeders give him their trust and faith. Thank you. And now we are going to show you some great representatives of the Falima Nile family. This family also is unfortunately no longer very large in number. At the Arabian Horse Center we are fortunate to have a lovely group of this family, which was founded by Ansata White Nile, mother of Ansata Nile Echo, Wafa El Kuwait, Warda El Kuwait, these two full sisters founded then or continued the legacy of Ansata White Nile in the Arabian Horse Center. And the first to come is Naama Aljazira. She is by Sahm Al-Shakab. And the dam is Namarek Aljazira. A fine filly with elegant long lines. Very good movement, not only when she is trotting, but also cantering. Somehow in Arabian horse breeding we have done big mistake. We concentrated only on great show trot, but we forgot that horses have 3 natural gaits. And in these days when you see some Arabian horses galloping, it looks like a rabbit is jumping around. This filly truly has also a very nice canter with good tact and rhythm. Very fine head, beautiful eyes, for which this Nile family is very much well known. Thank you. This was Nama Aljazira, Sam Al-Shaka Band, Namarek Aljazira. The next to come, this showy, flea-bitten. This is Wadha El Kuwait. Look at her. Is this not an eye-catcher? She's by Sinan Al Rayyan out of Warda El Kuwait, who is a full sister to Ansata Nile Echo. See how this horse can move. Unbelievable. She was bred at the Arabian Horse Center. A truly spectacular Sinan Al Rayyan daughter. And a very fine representative of the Nile family. She truly loves to show. She has the sweetness and the exotic touch from Sinan Al Rayyan. The strong body and conformation, the length of leg for which the Nile family is well known, and also the ground covering movement. Truly a spectacular mare. She can go on like this forever. You leave her here in this paddock and you come back tomorrow morning, she's still trotting. Thank you. How come she's not getting any applause? The next to come will be some fine representatives of the Tamriya line through the foundation mayor of this family, Jamala Al-Zamet. Jamala was bred by Mrs. Schreibvogel from the northern part of Germany. She resides not far from Hamburg. Jamala Al-Zamet was first sold to Sheikh Abdulaziz Al Rayyan farm. And during one of the many visits Talal paid to Al Rayyan farm, and being a close friend to Sheikh Abdulaziz, he finally was able to purchase Jamala Al-Zamet, and this mare founded her own dynasty here at Aljazira. And the first representative of this family, the Tamriya line, is Jawhara Aljazira by Sinan Al Rayyan and Jamala Al-Zamet. So she's a full sister to Ez Aljazira. A stallion who produced very well for Aljazira stud as well as other breeders here in Kuwait. She has the same exotic expression like Ez Aljazira, probably a bit shorter in the back. A lot of substance, deep chest, very wide in the front. And an amazing ground covering movement. Thank you. Truly a precious mare in the stables of Aljazira stud, and continuing the legacy of the Tamriya family in Talal's breeding program. The next to come is Al-Marwa Aljazira by Rayyan Aljazira and Jalila Aljazira. You have seen Rayyan among the group of horses descending from the Rayyana Ratiba line. Rayyan is the son of Sinan Al Rayyan and of Roba Al Rayyan, and Roba Al Rayyan is Ashal Al Rayyan and Rababa. Rababa from the original Inchas herd. So that's an interesting combination of the famous Tamriya line and Rababa's family from Inchas. The idea behind to not get too close and to run into a dead-end corner And this combination really worked out very nicely. A very precious broodmare and important for Talal's breeding program. He likes to have a variety in his stables. And his goal is to keep the identity and the specific characteristics and features of all the different families he is nurturing here in this place. The next to come, and ladies and gentlemen, this will be the last horse to be shown. With her, we are closing the presentation of Aljazira Stud. And joining us here in the arena, this is Al-Safa Aljazira. She is by Wasim El Kuwait out of Jalila Aljazira. So she's a half-sister to Al-Marwa Aljazira through the same mother. The sire Wasim El Kuwait is a fine stallion of the Arabian Horse Center of Beit Al Arab, the state stud of Kuwait, who represents the Falima Nile family. He is a son of Ansata Sirius out of Wafa El Kuwait. And Wafa is Ansata Hijazi and Ansata White Nile, full sister to Ansata Nile Echo. So this is a pedigree with very strong genetic potential. She was very successfully shown as a youngster, was crowned a silver champion, and attracted the eye of everybody who saw her because of her gorgeous type. She loves to show off and captured the heart of everybody who saw her during the show and later on during all the stud presentations. She's always a highlight. And it's a pleasure to see her as a grand finale of this presentation of Talal Mehri's Aljazira Stud. Talal is not only a very fine breeder, he was awarded most successful straight Egyptian Arabian horse breeder at the first Breeders' Cup Kuwait 2020. He also owns a very fine art collection as well as a library, a fine horseman and a great breeder. Thank you so much, Talal. It was a pleasure. Thank you for showing us your horses. Thank you for being such a wonderful host. And if I'm not mistaken, lunch is served for you. Lunch is